All right, so I'm gonna start doing some SQL now, and I'm gonna build this out live here. I'm gonna go ahead and get started here with Assimilate SQL. Let's dive right into it. And in particular, what I'm gonna start off with is dev container images here. So in looking through some of these dev container images, we have Anaconda, Base, Debian, CPP, um, .NET, Go, Java, Jekyll, all kinds of different languages here. The universal is kind of an interesting one because this is basically like a multi-language version. I'm kind of thinking that this is what I would want to base my dev container off of, I think. But um, let's go ahead and see this as well, and let's go into uh, let's actually build out a new environment for SQL. So here we go. Let's go ahead and create a new repo, and let's say new repository. And in this particular scenario, I'm going to create a public repo, and we're going to call this SQL template. And we'll add a README. Let's add a get ignore for, I would say Python SQL probably would be a good one. It's probably the most common language I'm going to use with SQL. And then for license, we'll do Creative Commons. There we go. Perfect. All right. So now that I've got the SQL template here, one of the things that we can do is spin up a big beefy machine again. So new with options, get this thing cooking, and create the code space. So the idea is that I'm going to develop in this environment, and look, it launched very quick. Now, a couple things I'm going to set up very, very quickly is I'm going to go, I am going to make this a template, and then also I'm going to go to code spaces. I'm going to set up a pre-build so that it in the future will load quick, right? I love pre-builds. Okay, so next, now that I've got the SQL template, the idea would be that an interesting problem because, where do I want to start? Do I want to start and base it off of a Python container? You know what? I think I might actually do that. I'm just thinking out loud here, but it says, welcome to CodeSpaces. You're on the default image. It includes all this stuff. So if I am going to use Python with SQL, do I want to do that? That's a very good question here. Or do I want to just make it pure SQL? Boy, decisions. Yeah, let's nuke this thing. I'm gonna start over again. So I'm gonna basically nuke this repository, and I'm gonna start over. So we'll do this, and yes. Are you sure? Please type consequences. There you go. It nuked it. I'm pretty sure it nuked it. And I think a better position for me would be to start from Python and then build a SQL, because it's more likely that I'm going to use Python with SQL. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. I have to approve my request here that I think nukes this repo. Okay, I nuked it. Okay, great. So I want to go back to Python, which I have a template now. There you go, Python template. So this template, just to walk through real quick, it has like some really good setup here and all this. So I'm going to actually use this to create a new repo. And then I'm going to go here and I'm going to say SQL template. And we'll do SQL template. And say this is a template for building solutions with SQL. And the nice thing is that it's going to have all the Python goodies inside of here, which really is pretty awesome. And then I'm immediately going to set up code the pre-builds, which again is a huge win because it makes things launch fast here. So I don't know why that didn't work, but pre-build, create. Oh, maybe I already did a pre-build. Branch can't be blank. Main, there we go. Okay, so we got this thing working. Additionally, as I did before, I'll make this a template. So that looks good. Now I'm going to go to code and I'm going to go here, new with options. And we're going to go to this environment here, 16 core machines. Okay, we got this thing cooking. Right. Let's let this thing fire up here. And I guess what we can do is actually go back to GitHub and just while this is launching here, I'm going to just clean it up a little bit. So we don't want it to say Python projects. We want to get rid of that. We want to say template for SQL projects. Let's go ahead and do that. And I don't think we care about this. We're just going to say, builds out a environment working with SQL and includes standard setup. There we go. So this looks good. And then if we go back here, we can look at the logs. This thing is building up all this stuff here. I think I can remove a few things if I remember correctly, like dev container. I probably don't need this features here. Let's see here. We have that. This, I can probably remove that in the future because I think this is what's slowing us down a little bit. Kind of a bummer that I left it in there, but I guess I could just nuke it real quick. I can probably just do that. Let's check. Yep. And then we have all these extensions, which I'm gonna add some stuff for SQL as well. There we go. Looks good. If we look here, it's going to install the rest of these packages. Now, because I've set up the pre-build process here with code spaces, you can see that it's doing some stuff, right? It's installing agents, doing all this stuff here. Now, if I remember correctly, maybe it has to run once. Always fools me about how to find that. I think it has to run successfully once. Where is it? This one. Let's see. Trying to get this the code spaces thing. So code bases pre-build. I can't find that icon that makes it the badge, but not important right now. So yeah, this is the CUDA stuff. I think is super slowing it down, which again, I'll get rid of it in a second here, but it looks like it's finally done. It's going to launch, but it will be nice to get rid of this. But I do want to put in some other goodies inside of here in terms of extensions for SQL. And we probably need to configure it a little bit to run things to install like a local version of SQL. In fact, would we want to run, MySQL, for example? That's a good question. It's a very good question. So let's go. So this looks like it's working. This looks good. And we can go here and potentially what we may want to do is make a directory called SQL examples. We can go to SQL examples here. We can say hello.sql. And we can even test out how good Copilot will do immediately. So if we go through here and we say, build out, build a hello world query for SQL. What would it help? This is a hello world. But the problem with the hello world in SQL here is that we're going to need to SQL, and we'll just say to do. And I think we need to figure out which version of SQL we want to run here. Now, if I go to, code spaces, change configure dev container features. What are some of the things that we could configure for SQL? Well, common Debian. We could go to, let's just type in SQL here. Rest, no. I don't think we want that. I don't see any things selected. And if we go back and we say configure dev container features, no. Configure. If Docker containers configure, I think we want to do dev container. What we want to look at is SQL. What do we got here? What are the options for SQL? So this is, I think, what we want actually. I think we want Python 3 and Postgres is most likely what we want. And let's try that. So it's gonna overwrite the container. That's fine. Oh, and then look, this JSON file is overwriting. That's fine. And so let's try it. Let's see what happens. Let's mix things up here and see if we can get a different version of SQL running. And potentially it even could be faster because it's like a basic config. And while that's running, what I can do is look up in these containers here, in the images, we see there's a Python. And what do we got here? We have this one. Trying to see where they keep the source code for all the different ones that they're building. Like, for example, copy this. Not sure where this is actually set up, or where I can look at the config file. But let's take a look at this. So we've got a Docker file, workspaces, use forward ports. These can be used to network, pip install. Okay, and then if we look at the Docker, so it's got a Docker Compose in here. Sure, let's do that. So we're going to have to basically completely rebuild this thing from scratch, which is fine. And I'm going to go to Copilot. I'm going to do nightly. I'm going to do labs. What about Postgres? Is there anything for Postgres? Publisher. What is this one? Connected, manage profiles. Yeah, let's use the official Microsoft one. And let's start with this. Okay, so we got Postgres, we got a Docker, and we got a Hello SQL here. Let's see what this does. Now, the other thing that we can do, if we go back to these extensions here, is under installed extensions, we can make sure that, could not start, view known issues. What is this? What is this doing? So there's one issue with Postgres, and it's asking, it's recommending other ones. So SQL Server, SQL Tools. Sure, let's try it out. Markdown lint. Interesting. I don't know if I care about that, but I think these other ones here that are installed, I'm going to make sure that they're all inside of my dev container. So I'm going to say add dev container, add the dev container, add the dev container, add the dev container. I don't even know what this is, but add a dev container, add the dev container, add the dev container, add a dev container. There's a lot of this stuff here just to make sure that all of this is going to be reproducible. So the idea with a dev container is to make sure that everything is reproducible. And add the dev container and add a dev container. There we go. So looks pretty good for now. It's looking pretty good. And now that I've got all that working, if we say dev container, we can take a look at all the tools. We have a bunch of SQL tools here. Now, what I don't know yet is what else we need to do. So, for example, do we need to install any more packages? Do anything like that? No, I could look at my Python version here, template, for example, and we could look at its Docker file and see, not that Docker file, but this Docker file, and see if there's anything we care about copying. I mean, maybe I do care about this. Let's just double check what version of Python's here. 11. I don't know if I want to mess around with this. Let's kind of keep it. Let's stay with this system, and let's see what happens. So if I go to requirements, for example, and let's do the same thing. Let's add the dev container. So if I go back to make install here, now I'm not using a virtual environment, but because it's built in a container, I'm curious if I do a make install, what happens? Default into user because normal site packages is not writable. If it blows up, I will get the virtual environment stuff working. Okay, new packages available. Yeah, so far no problems. Okay, well, that looks good. Python, I think I probably do want like SQL like SQL, right? Python. I mean, maybe SQL Alchemy. SQL tool. Make install. So we say pip freeze. Python. So let's init here. And grab SQL Alchemy. Did it not install? Grep SQL. Interesting. Pip install SQL Alchemy. So, oh, it's already met 1444. Let's try that. Make install. Oh, I think I need to do equal. Let's do that. Sure. I actually don't even know what the latest SQL Alchemy is. If I say SQL Alchemy, 144. I would say we probably want that one, which is what we got. 1444. 144. Yep, perfect. Okay, so we got all this stuff. Now the next thing to do is, how do I run SQL? And I probably need to check if Postgres works. Postgres. Let's try Postgres. Postgres Visual Studio Code. So how do we get this thing working? You can add a Postgres VS Code. Getting started. I really don't know. That's a good question. I might look at the Docker file to see if I've got any ideas here. We have a Docker Compose. We have runs app on the same network. Here we go. So it's going to pull in Postgres latest. But so what do we need to do to run this? I always forget about Docker Compose. Is it Docker Compose? Oh, Docker is uninstalled. Well, do we need Docker? Docker Compose start. Oh, no Compose projects are running. Well, that's weird. It seems strange that it wouldn't be install Docker. It can be used in a remote setting. Yeah, so the question here is Docker, if we look at it, what does this do? Is Docker installed? Reset. Well, I think I'm going to just try to rebuild real quick. So git status, git add.dev container, git add requirements, git add SQL, commit, adding Docker, adding setup. There's some pieces not making sense so far. I'm gonna do a pull. Nice. We got a conflict here, which is we don't want, that's the incoming change, and we don't want that incoming change. Want to nuke that. And I think that's all we care about. So we say get status, get add.dev container, get commit, fix merge. Okay, so I think we can rebuild. Let's just see what happens. Let's see if it starts now, because it's, yeah, look at this. Troubleshooting guide. There's something going on here that's not working properly. The following error occurred. Oh, okay. So the dev container got messed up, unfortunately, which isn't surprising that it got messed up. Let's go back here to SQL template. Container, making a recovery container. So we just need to make sure. Oh, well, that makes sense. That's not going to work. Git pull. Yeah, git status. Okay, so rebuild. I fix it. Okay, there you go. That was it. That was the bug. Was a bad JSON file. Now I'm curious how quickly this builds now that I removed some of that CUDA stuff, which I think should make it a lot quicker. And I am curious whether Docker Compose will just work. I don't know why it's not working. Wow, that was pretty quick. Looking good. It's pulling down Postgres. Look at this. It's doing Docker Compose. I like that. Downloading newer version. Now we're about to see what's going to happen with Postgres here. An extension. So it's, look at this. It's doing SQL tools, Docker. SQL tools. What is Docker doing? Docker's not installed. We want to learn more. Get read extension documentation. So why is Docker Compose, even though it says that this, I'm assuming that this should work. Failed to connect. Is Docker installed? I think we're going to need to tweak this thing a little bit and add install configure dev container features. That's what we need. And I believe we're going to need Docker creates child containers, Docker from Docker. Docker in Docker Amazon Linux. I actually don't know which one I need, but let's try that. Looking pretty quick. So Docker, so look, it says Docker Compose. It seems like Docker Compose is doing something, but the question is, did it install? Actually, maybe I don't need Docker to run Postgres. I just don't know what the setup here is for using this particular dev container. I don't know if there's documentation on it. That would be great. Like, because if I see here, I see post create commands. We have features, Docker from Docker. And in fact, I can even do git status. Let's add this. Adding Docker. But if I go to Docker, I don't know if this is going to solve my problem. Well, there you go. Well, there's something happening now. And so we do have Postgres, which is interesting. And here it even tells us the port. Open in browser, attach shell. How about that? Whoa, look at this. And I guess if I do post, oh wow, since I've done Postgres. Root execution of posts, the service must start underprivileged user. So I actually don't know the beginning of Postgres. It's been quite a time since I've used Postgres, but there is a Postgres tool here, I think. Let's try that one. Add a new connection. And let's try this SQL tool. I thought there's actually another Microsoft tool here too, but don't worry, we're trying to look for installed drivers. I guess we could go back to the Postgres extension. Didn't I? Yeah, this thing. How does this thing work? So, oh, Postgres new query. Okay, so Postgres new query. All right, let's try that out. Error, the Docker shell neither specifies or done. So there's still some config issues here that I don't 100% know. So maybe what I need to do is look at the dev container documentation. In fact, what do we got here? We have developer introduction to dev containers. Okay, we got this. Now, do we have some documentation about pre-building, managing, developing, create a code space for repo, default environmental variables. Let's search for Postgres. Postgres. I don't see this. Pre-building, managing. Let's see. Visual Studio Code. Input prerequisites. Let's look at this. Creating a code space. Dev container. Opening it up. Changing the machine type. What I need to find is the documentation for how to use Postgres. So this might take a little bit of time. This is definitely not something I do a lot, and I haven't yet got this thing working. So this will be an interesting challenge for me. So make file. And if I type in Postgres, it's not actually. I would need to, I believe, create a shell into it. I guess I could Google like Visual Studio Code Python 3 Postgres dev container. You have any documentation anywhere? This is what I care about. Okay, so what does this thing say? And in fact, let's put this into the link here. So I've got some documentation about this. Let's see, like based from this .dev container. All right, so at least I got some documentation running. Get status, get add, readme, get commit, adding docs. Okay, so let's read this. Let's read the documentation. So this definition creates two containers, one for Python and one for Postgres. VS Code will attach to a Python container, and from within it will be available on local host port 5432. Let's try that. If I say ping localhost 5432, ping is not even available, so that doesn't work. The default database is Postgres with a username and password Postgres. Okay. You can also connect to Postgres from an external tool by updating the JSON as followed. Oh, there you go. So I should just have read the documentation. That's the problem. So let's go here. And we want to do this. Excellent. Sure. Let's do that. Rebuild. So it's going to forward that port. And then let's read up what else it wants me to do. You can add another service inside of there. This container installs all Python developers using pipx. Wow. I don't even know what that is. I've never install yet another tool, Python. Holy smokes. What is this? Huh. pipx. Wow. Okay. There's another tool. And using the Fort port op building requirements. Oh, that might be something that we would care about in the future. Adding definitions, manage. Okay, so it's what's come on. What did I do? I forgot to add a comma. There we go. So I'm going to get status, get add.dev container. All right, let's rebuild this real quick. Oh, really? Come on, check troubleshooting guide. I must have made a typo or something. What I can do is look for a JSON lint of linting pool. And let's actually lint my dev container file here. I probably have some kind of bug in there. There you go. Validate. Ooh. Something's, oh, update the variant. What did I, no clue. Let's try a different JSON lint. That one's too spammy. Line 1. Let's get rid of that. There's all kinds of spammy JSON lint tools. Okay, so if we go here, let's get rid of this. And what is the problem? Why is forwarded ports? We can use forward ports. Ports that are forwarded, expected comma. It's kind of a bummer. I'm going to put this back here. So let's see, forward ports. Why wouldn't this just work if I did that? Oh, because I made it a string. That's the problem. 5, 4, 3, 2. There we go. I think that this should fix it. Expected comma, you got a comma. Oh, or is it, it needs a comma there. That was the problem. And then let's try that. Again, let's say get status. Add that div container. Adding. Okay, while this is building, what else can we find here? So this looks pretty good. If you can do all that. So this is an interesting little config here. The VS Code extension team. So very interesting. Available variants. Looks like some real Python experts built this. Let's look at the logs. It's building this thing. Now the question is, Postgres though. Let's look at the documentation for Postgres. Postgres. It's been a while. How do you query things to start with? So learn more. That's what we want to start with. And we want to do, where's Hello World? Documentation. Let's read the manual. Getting started. Creating a database. That's probably what we want to do, is create a database to start with. But let's just do link to this documentation probably first to just add that in there. And let's try to get something working. This is a little small, a little bit better. Our one tutorial. I mean, I guess I could just read through. Okay, what is it? I already know what that is. Getting started. Installation, well, we already got it installed, which is nice. Create database. If you see this, it was uninstalled. Well, we don't care about that. I see, and you can drop DB to start with. So looking good. And what else can we do here? We can do, oh yeah, that's right. PSQL. Once you've created it, then you can just drop into the shell. So that's what we want to do. So let's probably link to this documentation here. I mean, I guess I could, while this is building, I'm not sure why it's taking so long, but while this thing's building, what I can do is add this. It's a Postgres data, Postgres tutorial documentation. Okay, started tutorial. Started tutorial. There we go. Got that running. And so that's the first thing I'm going to try because I believe it's forwarded now. And let's just double check when you run it before you install it. If you blah 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 blah. So it's called Postgres. So there should be a command called create DB. Now, what I don't know is if that's available locally or not. We're about to find out inside of here because let's see, test projects. Oh, here we go. There's a little test project here. Settings, allowed host. Web projects, init. I don't see a database connection there, but we'll try it out in a second. Not sure why this is in particular taking so long. But it'll be interesting to see if this will get Postgres working. If it does, that's not a bad start. Here we go. Getting close here. Boy, this thing is building like molasses. There we go. Maybe it's the Docker part, but again, because I'm using pre-builds, it is going to be able to do this faster in the future. Okay. Let's do a get pull. Pull. All right. So if pre-DB, nope, it's not here. So, but we probably can use this Postgres command. Does that work? So it's going to install this tool. The Postgres commands will be. Yeah, this is kind of a bummer trying to talk to this thing. What if I go to SQL tools and I say add a new connection? And we say search Postgres SQL tools. Okay. And now let's go back to this Postgres. So let's try it out. So let's go to local and local host. And I think if I look at the documentation here, they said Postgres. Okay, so there's a database called, there's already a database created. Oh, I see. With Postgres. Okay, so database Postgres, username Postgres, save password, and it's going to be Postgres. All right, let's do it. And connect. Whoa, hello. We finally, after almost an hour, we have this. And I guess the first thing that we would want to do is let's refresh myself on Postgres. Once you drop in, select version. There we go. I just want to do like a hello world. Wow, did it run that? Run on active connection. So there we go. And select current date. Let's try that. All right, so we have Postgres installed, but we don't know now how do I run this? Run on active connection. Sure. Select version. Huh. Now I don't yet know how to run this. Oh no, look, it did. We were able to. Let's rerun it. Yeah, so I got something working. That's a good sign. So I'm going to call it a day. What I'll do is just put a little note here that says use SQL tools to run. Use SQL tools extension. Follow guide here, which is there. There you go. And let's go ahead and add this. So git status, git add local SQL session, git add readme, working prototype. Working prototype. All right, so this will be one of the SQL sessions. I'll do the next one in a couple weeks. But thanks for staying in there for now, and I'll see you next week.